remember that day like it was etched into my brain with a rusty knife. It was one of those crisp fall afternoons in the Pacific Northwest, where the air smells like pine needles, damp earth, and the sun filters through the trees in lazy golden beams. I'd been out hiking for hours, my backpack heavy with camera gear because, I'm always chasing that next viral video for my channel. Nothing fancy, just me, a drone, and a GoPro, hoping to capture some epic forest vibes for a Hidden Gems series. The trail I'd started on was a well-worn path near Olympic National Park, but I'd veered off, as I do, following a faint deer track that promised something quieter, more untouched. My boots crunched over fallen leaves, and the only sounds were the occasional rustle of squirrels and my own breathing. I'd been filming snippets here and there, close-ups of ferns unfurling like green feathers, a stream bubbling over mossy rocks. But as the light started to dip, I realized I was deeper in than planned. No big deal, I thought. GPS on my phone said I was fine, just a mile or so from the main road. That's when I spotted it, a break in the underbrush, like the forest was holding its breath and parting just enough to tease me. Pushing through a tangle of salal bushes, I stepped into a clearing that didn't feel like a clearing. It was more like the woods had politely stepped aside for something ancient. There, scattered like forgotten giants, were these massive stones, boulders the size of small cars, maybe bigger. They weren't just rocks. They were cloaked in this thick, velvety moss that glowed almost emerald in the fading light. It draped over them like old velvet curtains, soft to the touch when I reached out, but cold, like it was sucking the warmth from my fingers. I ran my hand along one, and flakes of green crumbled off, releasing this earthy, almost sweet scent that reminded me of rain-soaked basements back home. I set up the tripod right there, heart picking up a bit, because this was gold. "Hey guys," I said to the camera, keeping my voice light. "I think I've stumbled onto something weird out here." I panned the lens across the stones, zooming in on how they formed this loose circle, irregular but deliberate, like kids had stacked them for a fort 1,000 years ago. Vines snaked between them, and tiny ferns poked out from cracks, but there was no litter, no signs of hikers. It felt private, guarded. That's when I noticed the water tucked behind the largest boulder, half hidden like it was shy, was this little lake. Not a pond, too deep and still for that. It couldn't have been more than 20 feet across, oval-shaped, framed by the stones like they were cradling it. The surface was mirror flat, reflecting the canopy above in perfect, unbroken detail. No ripples, no bugs skimming across it, no fish jumping, just nothing. I knelt at the edge, careful not to slip on the slick moss, and peered in. The water was so clear, it hurt, looked like staring into polished glass, but dark at the bottom. How dark? I couldn't tell. It swallowed the light whole. I dipped a stick in, nothing fancy, just a branch I'd picked up, and it vanished after about 3 feet. No splash, no bubbles, just gone. The water was ice cold, even through the wood, sending a shiver up my arm that had nothing to do with the autumn chill. I pulled up my phone, shone the flashlight down there. Same deal, crystal clear for a bit, then endless black. Folks online say these kinds of spots exist, cenotes or sinkholes, but this, it didn't match anything I'd read. No inflow, no outflow, just this perfectly still void, breathing quietly in the forest's shadow. By now, the unease was creeping in, like that itch you get when you're being watched, but can't spot the eyes. I shook it off, though. All right, team, I muttered to the lens. Time for the drone shot. I launched the little guy buzzing softly as it lifted over the stones and hovered above the lake. The footage came back stunning, those mossy boulders looking like ancient altars, the water a black sapphire nestled in green. But as I watched the screen, replaying it, something nagged at me. The colors were off, too vibrant, too alive, when everything else felt dead quiet. That's when the legends bubbled up in my head. I'd heard whispers about this place from old-timers at the Trailhead coffee shop that morning. They called it the Whispering Pool, or something like that. Nah, the Silent Eye. Said it was a spot where the veil between worlds thinned, back when the native tribes used it for visions or offerings. According to the stories, the stones were placed by spirits, not men, to guard whatever lurked below. People who swam in it, they didn't come out the same. Some said the water remembered everything, sins, secrets, lost loves, and held them down there forever. Others joked it was a portal, cold enough to freeze your soul if you dipped too deep. I laughed it off at the time, but standing there, with the sun slipping behind the trees and turning the moss to shadows, it didn't feel like a joke anymore.